How do you cause a breakthrough when you're plateauing in your yoga practice? How important is it for you to understand your karma to experience happiness and peace? What does reincarnation have to do with self-realization? These are just a few of the questions that I'll be putting to a legendary yoga master who's been practicing yoga for more than 50 years. Namaste, Shri Dharma Mittra ji. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I have many questions for you, of course, and mostly around the practice of asana, but also the realization of the inner self. So, two types of questions. The first one, I think that many of my friends who practice yoga, including myself, we find that after a few years of practicing yoga, we kind of reach a plateau. There's like a ceiling. And I want to ask you, how do you break through that so you can move into the next level and the next level of your asana practice when you're stopped?
Okay, we have to follow the steps of yoga one by one. We have to be really good in practice yama first. That's the preparation. With the yama, for some reason, it triggers. If you keep the yama properly, some astral senses of perception are available for you. And then the student will be able to see importance, seeking liberation. You will be able to see that the meditation, the seeking of the higher self, it is important. And then we become more and more, enthusiastic. With enthusiasm, we will be able to succeed in the practice. Now, the postures are not really yoga, is a preparation. The main postures of yoga is sitting. You don't have even to be sitting cross legs. You may sit in the Egyptian pose in order to do your meditation breathing. And the rest of the pose, of course, some poses bring some mental powers, some other powers, good health. But they are not that important. If you don't like posture, you may go to the gym. Like the Hare Krishna, they don't do exercise. They prefer the other part, the spiritual knowledge, to be selfless, to do lots of karma yoga, to read the scriptures. So eventually, after constant practice going through yoga, we forget a little bit. We don't pay much attention with the postures anymore, except for the meditation and those who are able to keep us in good health. Even the breathing is slowed down too. We'll do only the breathing, let's say, to bring the prana and apana up spine. But meditations, concentration comes after that. Gradually, we are more and more established into the last 3 steps of yoga. So the first one is natural, that it's just like when you eat same food every day, you get tired of it. Some of them has no purpose. So gradually we forget a little bit of the physical. Of course we keep the physical. I do my poses every day in order to, right, without a good health and mental, good health, you don't feel good. You cannot express the bliss from inside. In order to experience bliss, we have the senses of perception, the astral senses of perception. If you are not too healthy, don't eat properly, it may block the senses of perception, despite I mean, they may block the senses of perception, and then you don't experience the presence of the inner self.
So, how important would you say is understanding your karma, your own karma, to experience happiness and peace?
Well, we must understand, realize the laws of karma. Everything runs perfectly. Whatever is happening, there is a reason why it's happening. If I have some problem or difficulty in my practice, there is some cause that deep into the past is the result of your deeds from the past. When we understand that, the mind calms down immediately. No more fear of accidents. We know that everything moves divinely perfect, and then we are calm. We may cope with any situation. The scripture sometimes, not only the scripture, but the second step of yoga, one must cultivate contentment. If you don't understand the laws of karma, you can never be able to be content. A content mind can never meditate. So that's by understanding the laws of karma, you'll be able to feel content, calm, serene, and succeed in anything you like.
So, how about reincarnation? What does reincarnation have to do with self realization?
Reincarnation brings a great peace in the mind. You understand? Without reincarnation, I don't think nothing would be possible to progress.
Evolution.
Yeah. Suppose a caveman came here, no reincarnation, just pain and suffering.
Yes.
And then you don't see that God is infinite love, unconditional love. So deep into the past, I know I was a caveman. So I believe 100% in evolution. So reincarnation brings great peace. Even after self-realization, I wish to come back here to see what is going on here 50 years from now.
To see as a choice, right? As a choice to come back.
Of course, I wish to come back. No matter how realized I am, I want to see what's going on here. The meaning of life is to experience everything. So I love to return and return. I want to see this planet 1,000 years from now. And the reason to reincarnate is not only for my own purpose, but I like to meet someone who loves me, to help others, to share the way. Of course, after realization, you are not subject to karmas anymore. There is no more pain or delusion. So reincarnation is amazing. Reincarnation, the laws of karma. If you understand both, realize really, I think you are almost there already.
Beautiful. Can you share with us about your experiences of the inner self, the inner being? How do you personally see it arise? How do you experience it? How do you recognize it?
I think it's very difficult to say the experience of the inner self, the bliss, the happiness. I reach a point with some research, with the books, with my own inner search. Let's say the state of samadhi, when you realize the self, that we are not the koshas, the layers, When you really realize, you're convinced that the self is a portion of God, eternal, formless, immutable. And then the mind, of course, we keep the ego in order to realize that, become happy in the state of samadhi. When you are in the state of samadhi, you still using senses of perception to experience, to be able to note, to be aware of the state of samadhi. For example, I can see myself in the state of samadhi. You see, it's not, many people confuse samadhi is the self. No, it's the results. You understand? Yes. The mind become happy. Yes. So the self itself has no senses of perception. What about becoming enlightened? The self is already enlightened. Don't need any samadhi or enlightenment. But remember, we are always with a little ego. So as far as we can go with the ego, we have to be established in the self. That is a reflection of the real self. Because the real self, in order to manifest through our physical condition, he has to materialize through the mind, through absence of, how to say, ignorance. And then the mind experience exceeding bliss. Remember, that is just a reflection of the self. It's not the self. Even if you are self-realized, when you go to sleep, where is the samadhi? Let's say if you have a stroke and damage the senses, the astral senses of perception, and then where is the samadhi? Because it cannot be experienced. And then you realize the self is the cause of it. It's something infinite.
And so, let's say for human beings, for most of us, when we begin to get glimpses of the inner self, this place of joy and infinite bliss and happiness, we get like tiny glimpses of it now and then, right? How do you see that translating into a person's everyday life? Would you say that it's essential to create those experiences in order that you can begin to see life in a different way and therefore make different choices maybe for your life?
As we improve more the ethical rules, especially ahimsa, to be extremely compassionate, reverent, respectful to all beings. What is the action of compassion? To see yourself in others. That is the first step of self-realization. As we improve that, for some reason, amazing things, some senses of perception, very subtle, become available for you. And then you'll be able to sense subtle thing. You cannot see it with the physical sense, but you know that, let's say, I sense God, but I cannot explain. You sense the presence of the highest and the invisible beings. You understand? As you keep going through this, the bliss keep increasing more and more, little by little. But those who are beginners should be obedient to the teacher and do the practice. And then sometimes you see flashes of it. After meditation, you'll be able to stimulate some, especially here, the fourth chakra. If you concentrate there where the spiritual heart is, you'll be able to have a little touch of bliss, spiritual bliss, love, infinite. And that keeps increasing gradually according to the condition of the students. Remember, every student are in different positions. Some are older souls, some are younger souls. They can't understand a few things. So they are very hard, difficult to get some bliss. But eventually they will come gradually. As you getting deeper and deeper, the bliss keep increasing more and more. How God manifests to us? Through the mind.
The senses.
Bliss, absolute. As the bliss become more and more greater, we realize, my goodness. So that's a manifestation of God until you reach the full samadhi. That's the highest manifestation, the physical plane where we are. This is what I think.
Beautiful. So perhaps one last question for you with regards to maybe two or three qualities that you absolutely, two or three qualities, as in within a person, that we absolutely must cultivate to progress on the yoga path.
Well, I encourage in the beginning, like I said a little bit before this, to see yourself in others, to be compassionate. Automatically you develop more reverence and respect to your teacher. And then you'll be able to follow the instructions. And then you will succeed. So we have to really start with the yama, and then the teacher starts sharing all the knowledge about eating correctly, being vegetarian, because it helps the mind, and be compassionate, be nice to your pets, to your all beings, and then automatically you are getting into the right direction.
Thank you so much. Really beautiful talking to you.